Hello. Welcome to this beautiful channel. It's your favorite webcomic creator and animator, the Chainsaw Maniac, and I'm here with another video for you guys. It's been a while. I've been out in the streamings, I've been doing a lot of streaming. I'm trying to cut down on that a bit because, for those of you who don't know, I got a kid on the way. So I'm going to have a lot of time, dealing with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to create some really cool videos for you guys. And, every maybe second week, maybe. I feel like that's a decent enough schedule, right? We can try that and see how it works out. And basically, I'm gonna bring some really cool content for you guys, but also I will be creating a really cool roast video for those of you who want to enter. The form is down in the description down below. You click the link, you fill out the form, and Bob's your uncle, right? And I'll be roasting, flaming it up. I'll be flaming your comics up. It's not gonna be no light roasting, like we're not gonna be microwaving, we're not gonna be microwaving. We're gonna be actually lighting you guys up. So if you guys, don't mind that, and at the same time you want to learn how to create some really cool action panels, that's going to be for you guys, right? For those of you who don't know, I'm a professional animator, so dealing with motion and movement is kind of like my specialty, especially action sequences and really cool VFX. That's my thing. So it's going to be a really cool insight on how I bring that to the comic, right? And how we actually going to express that throughout the comic. Also, how you can be creative with how you can twist and turn your panels to make them look really awesome, right? So I'm not sure exactly when I will release that, but I do want to release that soon. So hit that link, spam that link, send that link to whoever you need to send the link to, and hit it up. You get some entries there. I'll see how much I can actually do within that one video, and you see how well we can do with that. And obviously, if you guys enjoy stuff like that and you like the video, then I know, okay, cool, you want more of that, and I'll do more of that. So that's how that's gonna work. Also, before we get into this video, I also want to tell you guys to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell if you enjoy content like this, and I'll be posting more like this every maybe like twice a month, right? I feel like it's good enough, because we're not going to get any more streams because I don't think I'll have time to stream, guys. So, but for this video, we're going to specifically talk about how to create really cool action panels. Now, for those of you who haven't seen my work, I'm going to throw some panels up on the screen. It's pretty cool, okay? I did some really cool panels, bam, 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 right? Really cool stuff, right? So I'm going to show you guys how I exactly do this type of thing, creating these really cool panels, right? So there's 3 rules that I use to create these really cool panels, but I mean, you can have 5, you can have 10, it doesn't really matter, however you wanna, whatever rules you wanna make up in your head, because that's basically what I did. But, my way is the right way, so you see, that's how that works. The first rule, I just literally flipped you off, okay? So the first rule we're going with is a readability, and that is a word, and don't quote me on that. Basically, making your panel readable. And what does that mean? So I've seen this a lot with a lot of younger or people who are starting out creating webcomics. They're trying to convey a lot with one panel, and sometimes it's not the best, okay? Sometimes it's not the best. Sometimes you're kind of overloading your audience with one panel. So if you can convey an action in one panel without being too much, I say go for it, but sometimes you need maybe 2 or 3 panels. So basically on my channel, if you check out this video right here, we did a review on a comic with my friends Hobbish and Uni, and basically there was a lot going on in these panels, and you can tell this person had a very hard time with action panels, and obviously me being the action man specialist, right? There was like 2 actions happening in one panel, but it was happening simultaneously, and sometimes this can confuse your audience because you don't exactly know which action came first. It's both in the panel at the same time, and sometimes that can really confuse your audience. So basically what this panel conveyed, I'm going to bring it up again, but basically this person climbed to the top of a building and there was a shadow that appeared behind her, but it happened like almost at the same time. So you didn't notice the shadow, you just noticed the climbing onto the building, because that was basically the flowing from the other panel into this panel, and that's where kind of the disconnect happened with which action came first. So basically what you want to do is make sure you separate your actions, make sure you convey them clearly so it's readable. That's where the word readability comes in, and I almost picked up that word, but it's fine. Okay, I got it. Okay, let's say this person's doing a backflip and they're landing in a car. let's say that's the sequence, right? This person's doing a backflip and landing in the car, complete out of context. That is your sequence, right? And this is also gonna come into play into our next rule, but we're gonna move on to that soon once I explain exactly how to make things more readable, right? So basically, instead of just doing one panel where the guy's doing a full-on backflip into a car, and you know, this is also another thing is, and it can make things kind of feel a bit rushed, and sometimes it also doesn't convey time passing. It doesn't also convey, maybe you want to create some suspense, maybe you want to create some, you know, immersion with the reader or your audience, right? So like sometimes that can also kind of fall apart when you try to do all these things in one panel, and it's actually much easier than thinking of ways to convey like a lot in one panel. It's actually easier just to split them up into 3 or 4 panels. Honestly, it actually is. You're kind of chopping your brain power in half here. You're not thinking too much about it, because when you try to push that all into one panel, you can also overthink it and you can overshoot it, and you can just make a mess of one panel, right? So let's say the car's coming towards him and his homie's in the car, right? His homie wants to catch him, right? In the car, some like, you know, agent, like spy type shit, right? So basically, the guy is standing there, he looks back. This is the panel, bam, he's looking back, sees the car. So you can have the first panel, him looking back, car's coming toward him. So you show maybe a couple headlights, you know, he sees the headlights. So he jumps, backflips. So then you can do this panel, you can do a kind of a downward view of him doing the backflip in the sky, and the car is behind him, basically on the floor. And obviously I will be illustrating this as well, so it doesn't confuse you guys. And then he lands in the car, boom, right? Here it goes, there they move on, right? So it's very boom, 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 like after each other, right? You don't have to try and fit everything into one panel, like just basically do a side view, and then you show, like, you draw the guy here, you draw him here, you draw him there in the car, right? That's just, I don't know, it's also kind of boring, right? It's also kind of boring, and that's when we get into the last rule, but we're not there yet, okay? But this is just readability, okay? Remember that word, because it's an actual word. So we're gonna move on to the next rule, okay? This rule is kind of the follow-up from where we are right now. So the next rule, rule 2, right, is sequentiality, okay? And that is an actual word, okay? Trust me, bro. Trust me. It's an actual word. Go look it up, okay? And basically, this is the sequencing and flowing of panels. This is kind of jumping off our first rule, right? We're making the panels clear, but now we have to make sure the sequence is actually like readable and it makes sense and it follows a certain flow. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your audience, and they're gonna be like, "What the hell's going on?" They're gonna be lost in the leaves. They're gonna be looking for berries, and there ain't shit over there. Okay, so basically, what you want to do is it's very simple, right? 1, 2, 3. You know, that's your 3. The guy jumping into the car, right? I gave you already an example of that. You could make him look back, headlights, jumps up, boom, lands in the car. That's a sequence, right? Now, basically, what you want to do is make sure the sequence flows well, and also, let's say you're doing a webcomic on Webtoon, right? You can use your gut space to your advantage, and also using ways to transition from one panel to the other. Obviously, in a traditional comic, you know, it's going to be a bit different on how you sequence things and how the readability is going to come through. So basically, when it comes to webcomics, you're going to have to use that gutter space, and you're going to have to use your transition from panel to panel to kind of help the flow of things right there, right? So obviously, if you're spending a long time in the sky, you know, you want to do some slow motion-y stuff, right? You can do that in webcomics. It's going to take obviously an extra panel or 2, but you can do it, right? The guy's flipping in the sky, he's looking back maybe, right? So we take the same sequence, you know, you look back, you saw the headlights, then he jumps. So you do maybe a jump or you can already have that other panel where he's in the sky, and then maybe you have a little bit of a gutter space. You have him looking back at the car, maybe show his homie doing a thumbs up as he's landing, and then boom, in the car he lands, right? So there you kind of slowing it down for your audience. And sometimes you can also create this, and I don't know if you've seen Yutaka Nakamura, one of my favorite animators in the freaking world. Okay, this guy is he's an amazing artist, okay, when it comes to an animation. And there is another rule, and this is just a tip, but this is just a tip. I mean, it's a tip, and basically what Yutaka Nakamura does, he has this really cool thing of slow and fast. There's a really cool thing where a really fast action immediately slows down as it's coming toward you, and then boom, we go back into the fast actions, and then we move down to slow. This gives your audience a bit of time, it gives them a bit of time to catch exactly what's happening, and then you move into the next fast interaction, into a slow interaction, and fast and slow. You play with this fast and slow movement. You can do that in webcomics and comics as well. You can do that. You can use rules within animation to actually complement your ways on how you actually draw your comics and web comics, other artistic genres, basically, and that's all I've learned from animation. So I utilize that in my comics, right? How you would actually sequence that is, like I said, you add maybe a couple of panels in between, or you increase your gutter space within Webtoon. So you don't want to do too much of this, because then obviously it's going to be, it's just going to be all of that, that's basically going to be a comic fast and slow all the time, right? Obviously it's going to break up with dialogue, there's going to be other stuff that's happening, but you don't want to oversaturate using this technique, basically, right? You don't want to do too much. But especially when it comes to key moments within a specific storyline, key story beats, basically, this is the perfect time to use it. I think I've used it actually in Merchant of Ignatius. I think there's a few times I've used it in there, where this guy does this giant spirit bomb thing, and he throws it down, and the merchant, basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to get enough momentum so he can get around around this giant ball to throw his spear and take out the villain. You can't see the guy through the ball, so he has to go all around this fucking giant ball that's coming towards him, and he's flying really fast. But I'm slowing it down so he can catch his thoughts within the moment, so you can see what's going through his mind, and a sense of suspense, because what's going to happen? Is the ball going to land on him? What's happening? What's he thinking, right? So you're going through his mind as his actions are happening, basically real time, so it's happening, he's flying, and then boom, the action, it freezes, and he's doing the thing, and he throws the spear thing, it flies really quickly to the guy, and that's where it slows down as it gets to the guy, slowly getting to the guy, and boom, he gets decapitated, right? His head comes off. So basically, that's kind of an illustration of fast and slow. I mean, my Webtoon's up, you guys can check that out, that also, my art was really bad back then, but I don't mind leaving it there, because you have to start from somewhere, right? And I think even though it was bad, it's still good. I think it's still pretty good. Even though I'm revamping, I feel like it was still good for that time, you know what I mean? That's where I was kind of still figuring shit out. But I mean, it's a good example, right? If you go through my comics, you can see this everywhere, like fast and slow. I use this a lot throughout my comics, and maybe it's something that you guys can use. I don't know, right? That's sequentiality, okay? Now, we come to the third rule. Now, this rule, is it the most important? I would say it's not the most important, but it's the coolest rule out there. The rule of cool, okay? The awesomeificationalism, okay? That is an actual word, okay? Don't quote me on that. That's an actual word. Don't quote me. Okay, so awesomeificationalism, this is basically where we take whatever you've put together in the sequence, like this really cool action sequence, and now we add the awesome sauce, okay? We're gonna make things really cool. So this is where your dynamic poses come in, your dynamic, your dynamic movements. This is where your perspective comes in. This is where you start twisting and turning panels to make things look cool, okay? Now, obviously, all these rules cannot be fully developed unless you actually have some practice and obviously have very strong fundamentals, especially in the awesomeificationism, okay? If you don't have any really strong fundamentals, you are going to fail. I mean, it's not really a failure, you're just kind of learning, right? You're failing as you succeeding, if that makes sense. Basically, how you do this is, like I said, you want to create some really cool dynamic poses. Best way to do this, get your reference out. There's a lot of ways you can get the reference. The people's going on about this AI. Whoa, AI, right? But if you feel like, oh, AI, ooh, right? Okay, fine. Okay, then you're gonna pose yourself. You pose up. You do your own little poses. You get your little action figures. I don't know what you have in your house, right? Get something, and you can kind of like change the lens of your cameras. I don't know if you guys know how lenses work, and that's a whole other thing, right? When it comes to photography and whatever. Okay, so we're not gonna. It's just a simple camera, simple angle. Look at that. I have a camera right here, a webcam, right? It's a certain type of lens. We're actually getting some foreshortening here, so you can actually do a lot with just camera. Just maybe not even like an action figure or anything, just with yourself, or you can even just use a couple cubes with like household items. Here's a cube right here. There's a couple of that. Put the dice here, boom. You can use this to actually map out where exactly your characters is gonna be, well, like basically the dimensions and all that type of stuff. You can do it with simple objects, right? You don't have to use any complicated stuff, right? But if you want to be fancy, right? If you want to be a fancy lad, okay? You can find some blender, okay? Find the blender. Those of you who don't know what blender is, it's not a household item, it's not a household appliance. Stop thinking that way. That's noobish behavior. What Blender is okay, it's a 3D software that you use to kind of, map out your stuff. It works very well. Now, I know the interface is a bit daunting. Trust me, I've been working with Blender for over 10 years now, okay? It's a bit daunting, but once you get into it, it's pretty easy. But not only Blender, I'm pretty sure there's other 3D softwares. If you use Clip Studio Paint, 3D, there's a bunch of 3D stuff you can do in there. It's just, finding easy ways to kind of figure these perspectives out, I work smart, okay? So basically I use Blender, right? I use Blender, boom, boom, boom. It works. I'm very quick with Blender. I'm very quick. I can throw a few things together, bam, there's my scene. I just throw it up, right? But some people, they're a bit lazy, so that, they get a bit lazy. Now, obviously, if you're a bit lazy, you can use AI. No problem, my G. I got you, right? There's some really free AI stuff you can use. And if you're all about finicky about the AI monster, okay, fine. Okay, you don't have to use the AI, okay? You're all finicky about the AI, right? Okay, cool. You can get action figures, real life stuff, real life reference, like I said. You can reference yourself, reference your mom, reference your dad, family members, get a few toddlers together, reference them. I don't know. Okay, do what you gotta do. Obviously, there has to be toddlers that you know. You can't just grab toddlers off the street. That's not how things work, okay? Like, my way is obviously the best way, but it's not the only way. There's many other ways out there. Obviously, there's many other ways you can experiment with things, figure it out. All that I just told you now is gonna come into awesomeification. We're going to create some really cool dynamic poses, and you can even take from TV series that you like, you can take from animes that you like, screenshot it, you can screenshot that thing, boom, you reference it, you can trace it even, I don't care, do what you gotta do to get your comic done, and as long as you don't steal verbatim, the work, but you can take the pose, you can take the pose, no problem, you can take it from wherever you want, and obviously, if you keep doing that, you're gonna build a mental library. So you're gonna build a pose library somewhere. So I don't know where it goes, but I feel like mine is around about here-ish. That's where my pose library just churns up like boom, there's a pose for you. Hopefully this can help you guys create some really cool action panels. Don't forget the actual panel or action sequence roast, where basically you send me your comics. Pick a few action panels, pick a few action sequences. You can even hand select some action sequences that you maybe have trouble with, or you would want to see how I would like maybe better it, or how I would improve certain action sequences. And yeah, you can get my feedback on that, and we can actually learn from it together. Maybe you do an action thingy that I haven't even seen in my life, and maybe I'll be like, damn, that's some really cool stuff, and I can tell you why it's cool, I can tell you why it's awesome, and I can tell you why we're gonna learn from it, right? So yeah, you get to that. And I get to my stuff, I'm back on the comic grind. I'm doing my thing over here. It's been a while. But yeah, we're getting stuff done. I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter. I've been getting in a lot of tournaments. I've also been handling the kids stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on, guys. You don't understand. But I'm finally back into the comic game. I feel like, yeah, I know I'm getting things done now. I finished a couple pages last night. I feel like I'm getting back into it. But at the same time, I'm getting back into my YouTube content, and I'm gonna create some really cool content for you guys. So if you guys enjoy this video, you know, rate it, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, you know. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye, everyone.